Welcome back to another episode. This week, the topic of the week is relationships, specifically challenging relationships. And this could be right now. It's relevant to Insta here as we figure out how to navigate, acquiring new clients and new partners, and figuring out how to manage and get paid in a timely way and treat our vendors with respect and figuring out all of that. And I think also in my own personal life, I'm as we go through this moving and the company's relocating. I'm noticing some seasonality to my friendships and people that have been in my life for a long time. And there's just this push pull that's always going on with relationships. I think this is a great segue, being that our last video, one of the topics in that video was like, the people are the product. Like whatever you buy is a result of the people, their beliefs, their uh, ethnocentric, whatever is going on in their mind. Like that is the result that you're buying to a large extent. And so I think that's a cool one for this week for us to hit because they're not so straightforward. And with everything that's going on in the political sphere right now, it's even more so contentious. And so Mike, I'd love for you to kind of kick us off and talk a little bit about, to the extent that you can, on how some of the things we're facing with this client, some of the things we're thinking of, even though we haven't necessarily solved all of the challenges. How do we go about this? How do you go about getting people to do hard things? How do you motivate people to do things that you want or need them to do when you are maybe a Christian or you're a person of faith, and it's like you don't want to overstep, you don't want to misrepresent God, but you also don't want to be taken advantage of. How are you thinking about going about that?
Yeah, Perry, that's a great question. And it's really top of mind for me. And I'm thinking back to a devotional that I want to try to reference here that I read yesterday in the Bible app. And it was talking about how every one of our interactions and decisions is a way for us to represent our faith and our belief.
Whatever you eat, whatever you drink, whatever you do it as if you were doing it for the Lord. Basically, I think that was the verse, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure that was the exact one. And I'm going to pull it up actually. Let's see.
1
Yeah, it was
Corinthians 10.
literally 1 Corinthians. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. And I'm just going to open up the hopefully what there was like also some let's see. I can't get to the exact
The video is gone, I think.
okay, yeah. So like in the Bible app they have a breakdown, right? Of it. But basically the net of it is every decision we make and every interaction we have with people is a way to represent our faith, right? And the gifts that God has given us. And when relationships are challenging, it's really easy to get frustrated, and it's really easy to let your mind start thinking really just in an evil way of revenge or feeling like you have been taken advantage of, which, that could be a truth or not. But no matter if it's a truth or not, it all comes down to how do you actually handle it and how do you proceed from here. And so I'd love to just maybe step into a situation that we're dealing with as a business, which is, we're a new company, right? We started in October and we're largely still trying to figure a lot of stuff out, right? But we've gotten some really good traction with a particular client, and we started to charge them in February. And our business model is a prepaid system where people basically load up credits like a prepaid credit card or for phone minutes, and you draw down on those credits as you go on the platform, and you can auto reload your account as you go. And so it's really transparent, but you have the money, basically in your account, and we're drawing down on that. This particular client was used to a model where they get invoiced at the end of the month and then they pay that invoice the following month, right? And so we agreed to that. That was the agreement at their request. And now we're at a situation where we didn't get our bills paid for February, albeit it was a smaller bill. And now we're in March. And so now we have bills that are, a bill that is 29 days past. And earlier this week, we sent an invoice for March, which was substantially higher because this client has really ramped up on the platform. And it's somewhat crickets, right? In terms of us hearing back from them. And it's a little bit foreign to me, because if I got an email with a red alert saying you're overdue, my instant reaction would be like, I'd be mortified, and I would be wanting to pay this vendor, especially considering our product has the potential to save them over $100,000 a year versus a service they were using before. And it's so easy, Perry, to let your mind start thinking like, the product's not good enough. You're not good enough. They are, they're using you. Maybe they have no intention of ever paying, right? All these things, and they all come down to worries, right? And one thing that we know about worries are that worry and anxiety, that's not from God. That's from the evil forces that we can't see. And so yesterday I hit a block where I was just really frustrated in the afternoon, and it makes you kind of want to give up sometimes, because you're like, you feel really underappreciated, you feel really undervalued, you're working so hard, and you're making the end users that use the product, but the person that needs to pay the bill doesn't seem to be caring as much as the effort that you put into your product. And we're not unique. I mean, I've talked to some friends, and people kind of laughed at me and said, yeah, every client basically is late paying their bills, and every small business wants to keep their money as long as they can. It's just a little bit foreign to me, because I'm used to like paying my bill on or before the due date. I'm not used to paying them late. I would just be like embarrassed for my own reputation. On like, what does that speak to me that I can't, follow through on the commitment? And so we've given this customer a lot of grace, because it's really a partnership. Like they helped us in the beginning kind of get some good traction, get some good data. But now, as we're going on month 4 here, the first 2 months were completely free for them to use. And we were adding value, basically saving them money from using another provider. But it's still crickets on the payment. And so I just wanted to kind of frame the situation, right? And I don't exactly have the answer, but I do know that sending more transactional email notifications or text notifications or Stripe reminders doesn't seem to be moving the needle. And so it's going to require me picking up the phone and calling this client and having a conversation. And I personally, I've never been in the situation before of having to pick, up the phone and ask, kind of like, why aren't you paying the bill? And I know for a fact that it's not because it's ending up in a spam folder or anything like that. That's not the case. This is just, they're not paying the bill and they don't see it as urgent. And so I'll stop there, because I've been talking a lot.
So there's a bunch I want to pull out of that, because it's actually quite complex when you think about, I really like the idea of metacognition, of like thinking about your thinking. And when you stop to like evaluate the situation, like number one, it's like, there's only the things that were within your control, right? Like how you respond to something, what your attitude is about it, like what the plan is, how much you allow yourself to worry, right? There's all these things. But then there's like the baggage we bring into the situation. When I hear you talking about it and I think about how I feel about it, my baggage is, coming from a Northeastern New Jersey Italian family, I'm like, get the baseball bat and let's go slash the tires, right? Like that's where it goes for me, because my hurt, my daddy issues, my stuff is like, that's disrespectful. And it's in my head, you and me, we have a plan for this particular customer where we want to do something really magical for, once they get their first bill, there's something that we wanted to do in honor of a tragic event that's happened to this family. And we really wanted to honor that with a large portion of the profit that was going to come in from that, or the revenue rather. And so, it's like, I'm so excited to do that. And in my mind, I know that that's something that I'm expecting and I'm excited to do. And I'm hoping that it's going to touch them and let them know how valuable that they are to us. And that, this is more than a transaction. It's a relationship that's more meaningful, and taking that money out of our pockets and investing that into something that's meaningful to them. Right. Like, so there's all these things that we bring into a situation too, which is like, as you as an engineer building the thing, it's like, you probably want approval, you want that pat on the back. And it's funny because a lot of companies you and I have worked at or built together, we haven't necessarily had validation as quick in terms of pre-selling a product or expanding so rapidly within a client, like right out of the gate. And so we're so far ahead in many ways of where we've been in the past. But it is interesting how it can be very challenging so quickly. And I think the most challenging aspect of this customer, and this is what I wanted to touch on, when you're working with people that are good people, they're kind, they're kind-hearted. When you meet them in person, as you have and as I have, they're people of faith. Presumably, like when I've been around them, the company that they work for is very solid morally, and they try to do right by people. And this whole company, the whole team, everyone at this company, whether it's a franchise, the corporate locations, everyone involved has a really high level of operating. And so going through this as context makes it even more difficult, right? Because it's like you're almost like in the same family, and it's like it just feels that much more disrespectful. And so it can be really hard to figure out how to balance that out. But when I say balance it out, I mean like my own personal issues from my past, daddy issues, whatever you want to call them. And then also, when you're dealing with how to manage this with a good person, a kind person, people that have high levels of operating, a moral set. And that makes it even that much harder, because I think it's a little bit easier when you're working with someone that's a jerk, that's, trying to take advantage. Just a little bit easier. So the question then becomes, now what? Like, how do you operate? And I think I really loved the Bible Project, Tim Mackey and the team there. They were going over, turn the other cheek. And a lot of times in the context of that podcast, they were talking about specifically how there's a lot of women that are in abusive relationships, and they'll stay in that situation because they think, oh, just turn the other cheek, like Jesus turned the other cheek and whatever. But there is a time at which you need to remove yourself from a situation. And that's really what they go into in that. And they were talking about how a lot of people have misinterpreted it as you just need to stay and take the abuse. And you see it, to the extent that I understand the Bible, you really see it in the kingdom, right? Like, God, I do believe, loves all people. I don't know if I agree with Myron Golden on his perspective on that either, but he does draw the line. There is a line where he says, this is not allowed in my presence. And like this needs to go out, right? And you see in the Old Testament, when people went into the Holy of Holies area of the temple and they were killed instantly because they weren't purified, or they touched the tabernacle and they, whatever. So there's like all of these things at play. And it's like, I do think in my personal situation, I have a situation with a friend, someone I care about dearly, but I'm not sure if that friendship has hit its seasonality. I'm not sure if it's hit its time window, because I'm like constantly, I want to push people around me. I want to push myself. I want to always become more. And that's very uncomfortable. And there's a relationship in my life where this person and I kind of have hit this plateau where they're like, I'm good here. This is fine. Like, I want to live in this. And to me, like, staying stuck in mediocrity is a kind of stuck I never want to be in. It's like it's the slowest, most painful, most obvious demise of all. And I don't want to be around people that are like that. And I kind of can see that happening with this client. And it's like, it's really hard to figure out when and how to draw that line. And so I know that we don't have any solutions coming up. I guess this video maybe is not so much to complain or moan and groan about it. It's just it's a good opportunity to look inside and say, hey, am I treating anyone this way? And maybe ask for forgiveness for people that I have treated this way. And number two, I think, as you look into having kids and whatever, I think it's a cool opportunity to figure out how to navigate these really challenging interpersonal things with kids, because it's like, how do you motivate someone to do something you want? Kids are probably the best example of, getting them to clean their room or leave their towel on the floor and throw food at the wall or whatever. How do you motivate them is like a masterclass in psychology. And so I'm excited to share with people what approaches we go with and what we learn and what the result ends up being. But sometimes it is really hard to love people and do right by them. They make it very difficult sometimes. And so I'm curious to see what you have to add to that. And I'm really excited to share with what approach we go with eventually in the next video.
I was going to say, this is like, I think, very valuable for another entrepreneur, another business owner going through a similar situation, maybe for the first time like this. So we definitely are going to do a recap on what we learned and how this actually turned out and what our approach was it successful or not? And so I think the thing that I'm drawing on right now is I'm drawing on some biblical stuff, right? Of like, there is a line in the Bible that says like all of the people in the field, they should be paid their wages before the sun goes down. That might be in Proverbs. I forget exactly where it is, but you touched on a really good point of treating people how you want to be treated and turning the other cheek. And I received an invoice for pest control services in my inbox today. And I saw that, and usually I would be like, okay, I'm gonna wait until like Monday or Tuesday when I go through all my bills and whatever. And I don't even know what the due date was. It probably was like due on the service, but like it's not pretty strict. I've always paid my bills like on time. But it's like I opened that email up and I saw it come through. I was in the middle of something and I dropped everything I was doing and I paid it. And I was like, I want this company to get paid. Like, because I'm literally going through this right now. And yeah, it's always easy to say you're too busy and whatnot, but I value like this person's providing services to me for a home. I'm 2,800 miles away. There's a lot of trust here. They've got a key to my basement. They're going in the house. Like, I don't know. I mean, I could look at the camera on the property and see if they're there or not, but I don't even do that. Like, I just trust this provider because I got to see them in person before I started renting this particular house out. But you did touch on a point of like, I don't want to be a hypocrite. So when I do have something that's due, it's definitely going to make me think a lot more about, especially a smaller business like this one is, of actually paying your stuff, because put yourself in their shoes, right? I know how it feels to not get paid. And so, yeah, we'll have to just kind of see. I think this is a to be continued. My next steps, Perry, are reaching out to some people that are a little bit more wise in this subject, people that have been in sales, specifically some older people that have been doing this for a while, that I did text and I said, hey, this is a situation I'm going through. And they all said, yeah, we're familiar with it. We've dealt with it before. So I'm really interested to kind of hear their take on it. And then depending on what they say, I'm probably going to pick some tidbits here and there, and I'm probably going to make my own approach on this, because I really want to keep working with this customer. I know that the product adds a lot of value from a data perspective, but there's also something else that's at play here. Maybe this customer just wants a phone call. Maybe they just want to check in. Maybe all the beautiful email summaries that I'm creating, they're just not enough. They want that human connection. I don't know. I'm just mind reading right now, right? Because I haven't talked to the person directly yet. So to be continued.
Yeah, it harkens on a bigger conversation, which is like, and I was talking to a buddy about mine this weekend, which is like this whole concept in culture now of like minimizing pain and minimizing struggle and minimizing the challenges that we face. And I think so many times in life, like if we avoid those, we don't learn. Like we keep going through pain in cycles, many of us, and you see it, drugs, alcohol, people are like constantly getting loaded up on this stuff because they're in this endless loop of pain because they haven't learned the lesson. So it's like when these things happen, it's like, they're not always bad. They give us an opportunity of like, hey, what can I fix in my life? How would I change this? How would I approach this differently? And maybe it prepares you for your next chapter. And so it's like, I do think there's this piece to this, which is like, number one, knocking the entitlement out and saying like, I'm not like services rendered, whatever, they should pay for it, but like, I'm not entitled to. Like maybe there's some way that I haven't earned their business or their trust to the extent where they feel like paying, right? So there's this entitlement aspect of our culture. And then there's also this, like, I need to live a painless life. And I just think there's such a fallacy in that because they keep us in mediocrity. And so that's a bigger thing for another day, because obviously this is a tiny, tiny issue. But as family members or things or people get sick, like there's always a lesson in the pain of those things. So we will follow up in a subsequent video. Is there anything you want to end with before we close it?
I would say that one thing that I'm excited to kind of share in the next video is this is a really interesting case, because I've had many situations in my career where I've had to have difficult conversations with people I sat next to in the same office. I've had to fire people. I've had to people that I didn't want to fire for economic reasons. Some people, it was for performance reasons. And I went into that with like such bravado. And I just like put the face on and I just did it. And it was like, that was like really easy. There's some shadow here at why I haven't just picked the phone up to call this person to ask for the payment. And it touches a deeper, you were saying about, you were joking kind of about maybe being from New Jersey and it's like going out and slashing tires, but there's something that's at play deep down of like why I hesitate to just pick up the phone and kindly ask like, hey, why haven't you paid your bill? Right. And I don't know. And it comes back to a fear. And I'm excited that as I go through this experience, if I can uncover something about that shadow that's clearly here in this situation, I'd love to share what I've learned in that. So
I have some guesses because, in previous companies in Eventor, when I was leading that operation there, it's like that ultimately failed, right? And in a lot of ways, not really to do with you or Josh or what was being built from a software perspective. And so it's like, who wants to relive that, right? Or who also wants to like face rejection? There are all these complex aspects to this. And I'm going through this book right now on how to do better prospecting. And in the book, it's like, he's pretty, the guy is very, he uses choice words, but he's like, take the effing emotion out of it. Take your emotion out of it and just do the thing. Like, don't make it emotional, because then you're thinking about it. You're thinking about your thinking, and you're like preparing to plan and planning to prepare just to get ready to plan. Like, just do the thing. And it's like this, so I do that so many times when I'm doing a follow-up email. I had to do a follow-up email this morning with a client in the United Kingdom that was looking for a demo. And I'm like, why am I thinking about this? All I need to send is, are you still looking for this? Are we still good? Like, do you guys plan to pay your bill? Like, just a simple one line, like voicemail, call, whatever. It's like, it's the simplest things, but so many times, and I do this with the gym. I did it with the gym in 2023. I would think about, today was leg day for me. Think about how much I hate it. My legs are going to hurt. What if I hurt my knee again? I always hurt my knee. Like, what if I crap myself, like doing squats or some horrible, embarrassing thing, right? And like, I play this out in my head. By the time I get there, I'm miserable. By the time I leave, I'm thrilled because it's over and now I feel great. So it's like we punish ourselves so much by thinking. We get on the thought train and just like replay all of the things that are very unlikely to happen, and carry our past baggage with us. So yeah, just like in my head, I'm like, for me, I'm prospecting. I'm like, I'm embarrassed. People on LinkedIn, my family, who's in HR and different people on LinkedIn seeing me like post videos. It's embarrassing, but it's like, just run the script, run the play, like shut up and run the play. And do right by people, run the play, have no regrets, leave everything on the field and let it be.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I started this company. Like the week after the last place I was working at ran out of money, and I jumped into this. And since I've done this, it's just like, stop thinking about it, stop overthinking, and just do it. Get in the game, right? And so this is like surprisingly difficult. And I think part of it's just because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm like, I should be role playing with somebody and whatever. It's like, but it's like, I know the words that I'm going to say because I'm a nice person, and I'm not a hothead. I don't worry about getting like really flustered. It's just like, I feel like I need to have all these answers in my head, but it's like, I really don't. Like, it's a simple conversation. And I love what you said.
It's really powerful. I had an argument this weekend with someone, and I realized this is so dumb. Like, replaying this, it sounds so dumb. They didn't know how I felt. And so like, I felt myself getting loud, and I'm like, no. I was like, let me just explain where I'm coming from, because I realize you probably have no idea how I feel. And I'm like, this is how I'm feeling. And I just said it in a quieter tone or whatever. And like, I went through and I'm like, this is how this makes me feel. And I know that I actually realize, like, you don't intend that, but when this and this and this happens, this is how I feel. And I'm like, that is so much more productive, right? And like, in terms of this client, it's like, part of me just wants to get on the phone with them and be like, hey, like, you wanted to pay for this right out of the gate, like the first couple weeks, like when we were still trying to perfect this and really build out something valuable. And we said, no, like, we wanted to give you this for free until we can really add a lot of value. And I think we're there. Do you disagree? Like, just like having that simple conversation of letting them know how you feel. And it's like, I want to go into that, but it's like there is a lot at play, and it can be confusing. So
Yeah,
we shall see.
yeah, to be continued. I'm actually really looking forward to the next video because I'll have a lot out of my mind that's taking rent space right now. But I'm working on like letting it go because it's just allowing me to get back into everything else with company. But yeah, to be continued. Very excited for the next follow up on this.